So, but then you take the Larkin Rose case. Larkin Rose put out a DVD about a certain a section of the code 861, which when you study and read it and follow it to its end conclusion, it says that you don't owe any tax except for foreign earned income. I mean, it's very clear. Of course, the courts have ruled that's not so. It doesn't say that at all. And of course, they don't show you how it doesn't say that.
They just say it doesn't say that.
They just say it doesn't say that. So they charged Larkin criminally, him and his wife, and he wanted to use his DVD, which man shows it clearly. So the judge said, yeah, okay, you can use the DVD, but you can only show 5 minutes of it with no audio.
With no audio.
No audio.
Right.
I mean, good Lord, why bother? They don't hit all they see is what they can't recognize with nothing telling them about it. So then it gets worse, right? The case that just went down was Tommy Cryer. He was just acquitted this past July. The first part of July, around the 9th or something. I forget the date.
Who is Tommy Cryer?
Tommy Cryer is an attorney in Shreveport, Louisiana, who is a very well-known attorney in those areas. I mean, he has a resume like you wouldn't believe. Some 10 years ago, one of our members challenged him as to about the law. There is no law and all, and he couldn't believe it. So he set out to prove our member is not knowing what he was talking about, and he just proved himself that there was no law.
Right.
So he became a thorn in the IRS's side because he was a principled man, and he exposed this everywhere. And so anyway, they charged Tommy Cryer criminally, and he just had his trial last in first part of July. Lasted 2 days, and the judge would not allow him to put in any physical evidence. Nothing. Everything had to be from him testifying orally.
Judges don't justify what they do; they just do it.
Well, the law won't allow the judge to do that, but that's what he did. So it shows you they're getting tighter and tighter and tighter, trying to get convictions. But Tommy, being a lawyer, and being a lawyer for some years, and a good one at that, he was able to overcome this through his testimony. Most people can't do that.
Right.
So that's what they're trying to get, and he was acquitted. And man, that upset him.
And what was he charged with?
He was originally charged with 2 counts of evasion and 2 counts of failure to file. Well, they dropped the evasion before the trial, and he got acquitted on the failure to file at the trial.
Was this in state or federal court?
Oh, it's federal.
Yeah.
It's always federal court with the IRS.
Right.
And then, I stated before Joe Bannister. Joe Bannister is a CID IRS agent who was educated by D.V. Kidd, who's a journalist, a patriot journalist. And she's on this News with Views she publishes. And he got challenged by her. I think it was on a radio show, I might be wrong, about the law. And he investigated just like Cryer did, only Cryer's before him, and found out that wasn't what he was doing was illegal. It wasn't so. So he did a memorandum and gave it to his superior. And his superior told him he better forget it. But he didn't forget it. He took it to Washington, D.C. And when he got it up to Washington, D.C., the powers that be there, instead of them saying, you're right, we didn't know this, Joe, we'll stop that right now, they said, resign. So they more or less kicked him out. And then he was a CPA, and then they moved to take away his right to practice before the IRS, which is still going on. And they charged him criminally. Well,
with what, failure to file and
evasion, conspiracy. You can go on the internet and read about it. It's ludicrous, really. And I told everybody around here, and even Saturday night meetings, I said they're crazy to go after him. You know, you take today, we have a high crime rate today, more so when I was on the police force. I mean, we were on the police force, you had a murder, it was something. Today it's every day.
Mm-hmm.
But people are fed up with crime.
Right.
Therefore, put yourself on a jury. I'm charged, I come in there, well, I had to do something wrong or I wouldn't be there. So you got to overcome that. It's no longer innocent until proven guilty. You're guilty and you got to prove yourself innocent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got these prosecutors bringing in people wrongly charging them and don't care, building their own resume, like this guy in North Carolina with the lacrosse team.
The lacrosse team, yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of that going on, people don't realize. But they take advantage of the attitude of the public, who are the juries.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I said, that's going to be easy for the jury to see him. He was a CID agent who said, I'm doing wrong.
Right.
I mean, they got to be crazy to go after him. Because right away, the jury comes in there and they got doubt about his guilt.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't like if it was you or I, who are we?
Right.
You're a plumber. What do you know about the law? You got to be guilty.
Right.
They wouldn't bring you here if you weren't. So I thought, that's crazy. And I also said I predicted Tommy would be acquitted too, Cryer.
Mm-hmm.
Here he is, a lawyer. With not only a lawyer, but a very good lawyer. With a resume that won't stop.
Yeah.
And that's all brought out. They look at him and say, well, why would he wouldn't put himself in this position if there wasn't something to it.
But they're kind of in a catch-22 because if they don't prosecute...
but there's plenty of us around that don't have those resumes that they can prosecute.
And they're prosecuting people, right?
Well, yeah, but not that many.
Yeah.
They can't because the jails are full of drug dealers.
Right.
Non-violent
drug offenders, right?
Yeah, right. So the jails are full. They can't prosecute. They're caught in that respect.
Right.
But why go after the ones that they're going to have a chance of losing?
Mm-hmm.
There's other patriots out there. They don't have a chance.
Right.
Here they can't introduce any physical evidence, and they can't hardly testify because they don't have any training in law, and they haven't lived this like I've lived it for 40 years.
Right. Well, there's another ex-IRS agent, Sherry Jackson.
Sherry Jackson's going to be tried, and I predict she'll be acquitted. That's crazy. And if you take this Brown case up there...
Ed Brown, is it New Hampshire?
Yeah, I'm surprised that they haven't moved in by now. But they're
describe a little bit what's been going on there.
Well, they used the same tactics on Ed Brown where he couldn't introduce evidence for his own defense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's disgusting. So he says, well, heck, this isn't a trial. He just walked out of the court before it was over and said, forget it, I'm not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And he hasn't. And he's been holding out in his house. They convict him in his absence. And now they don't know what to do. They made one attempt to go in there and get him, and it was foiled and became a fiasco. And they haven't tried since. And it's like a Mexican standoff. He won't come out, and they're afraid of any real bad effects about going in and getting him.
They don't want another Ruby Ridge or a Waco.
That's right, they don't want Ruby Ridge or Waco. And so he's holding out up there. And he's holding out for, the same thing. It was brought about by them denying him evidence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't do that to people. Not honest people who are willing to stand.